to Critical Mass Podcast Professional Series. Today we will be discussing the topic, Not Everyone is Your Client, from Scarcity to Alignment. I'm your host, Shunda Jenkins, and joining me is my co-host, Dillon, along with the lovely guest, Anisha. Anisha is a licensed professional counselor since 2012. She's been successfully counseling and coaching her clients while also facilitating their self-growth. If you're feeling overwhelmed by life's demands, her services aim to introduce self-reflection, clarity, and self-motivation. She also teaches techniques to better manage the emotional stresses of everyday life. And now let's get into today's episode. Thank you, Nisha, for joining us today, and welcome to our episode of From Scarcity to Alignment.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. And now I know I listed a few things, but I know you do a lot more than what I just listed. So can you kind of share with us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes. So I am a licensed professional supervisor. I'm also a licensed addiction counselor. I am a certified yoga instructor. And as far as my license and certifications go, those are the things I'm licensed and certified in. I am a self-talk sound healer. And when I say self-talk, this is something that I actually received training. I've also attended workshops and something that I've been exploring and implementing in my own practice. And so those are a couple of things about me that I do.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Would you mind just letting us know, how did you get into that? Like, what made you get into even the holistic space?
So when we go back to college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I got into psychology with the thoughts of like the brain is interesting. I want to learn more. So as I went through undergrad and grad school, I got into rehabilitation counseling, and then eventually got licensed in practicing and working with clients in the population from acute hospitalization, inpatient psychiatric units, community support, intensive in-home services. I've seen a wide range of populations, and I work with people aging from 6 years old up. I knew and understood how important mental health was at an early age. I was in foster care when I was 5 and was adopted. And so I went through these ranges of things as a young child. Teenage years especially was really critical. I had supportive family that was there for me, that were alongside me and helped me navigate through all the things that I was going through, dealing with abandonment issues, attachment issues, and probably a range of other things with mental health within my family too, genetically and biologically as well. So, and knowing that and understanding that and going through that in my own experience, I kind of grew a passion for helping others go through or navigate through some of the things that I've been through as a child, adolescent, and also too as an adult. Going through that personally, I knew how important it is to have the support, but also to understand the importance of well-being, just overall well-being, and being okay mentally. As I got into private practice, I was in private practice for a couple of years, and talk therapy is really effective. I've studied so many different modalities that can be effective in helping other people. I think what I came to this point in life where I was going through my own mental health challenges after giving birth to my son. He was born prematurely at 28 weeks. He was in a NICU for 2 months. And when I say my life kind of fell apart, I felt like my life was falling apart. I was riding around. I remember one day, I will never forget this. I was riding around in a parking lot and I saw this sign that said 90-degree yoga. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I had just moved back to South Carolina, and it's something that I just curious about. So it started off as curiosity getting into yoga. I remember going to the class, coming out of the class, like I died 10 times and came back to life. And then I just kept going. And so I saw not only was it affected physically, but also too, I saw mentally that was a period of time where I was able to kind of slow down because my life had been so fast. And this really gave me like that peace of mind. And so I got into yoga and eventually just being in the field, being in therapy and understanding like, okay, talk therapy is cool, but what are some other things that could be used to help people navigate through their emotions that may not be okay with talk therapy or accustomed to it. So I started studying yoga. It was in my practice for a couple of years. By now, it's like 6, 7 years I'm practicing yoga. Decided to get certified. Got certified. Start teaching at Anderson Yoga Center, and then I started offering community classes because just the passion for helping people in the community and wanting it to be more community oriented. I started going out to random places in my community and just offering classes. Like, come do yoga and try it. Because at this time, I'm like a big advocate for yoga because I'm like, look, it saved my life. Come do it. And specifically for me, I did not see a lot of people who were in the practice of yoga that looked like me. So that became really important to me. Okay, this is a practice that I've seen help me navigate through depression, anxiety, but I don't see a lot of people that look like me that are actually in the practice. So again, my passion for it allowed me to kind of open my eyes and open me up to a brand new world where I started offering it to my clients and started actually implementing mindfulness practices or techniques that can help with mental health and overall, like I mentioned, well-being on a mental level, on a spiritual level, and on a physical level.
Yeah. And honestly, you need all those pillars too,
Right. Yes.
because you're not just physical.
Yes. Right.
And
Right. It's a balance. Mind, body, spirit is a balance, and I think if one is off balance, then they're all off balance.
exactly. Definitely yoga is healing. And just to be able to offer that to people who might not want to sit and talk about their life or even just talk about anything. They rather just be moving. And yoga is just one of those things that is so healing that you don't even know you're doing the work.
You don't exactly don't even realize it, but something as simple as just movement is allowing you to work through that trauma that's been trapped and stored in the body for years.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, navigating having a business, the challenges of having a business. Let's get into the scarcity part of the scarcity part of even sometimes people who are in a business they start to feel scarcity. So did you ever feel any of that in your business, like having a scarcity mindset, or did you ever deal with any of that?
I think there was a lot of things that came up in kind of navigating through the business. First, it was okay. I'm accustomed to this clinical work. I'm going into private practice, not understanding like not only do I have to understand the clinical side, but understanding like actually operating a business and constantly wanting it to evolve with all the different things that I'm wanting to do within the practice. And so there were definitely challenging times where it was kind of like, okay, what what can this grow into that, like I mentioned, can be helpful and beneficial to everyone? How can I take this passion that I have in helping others and allow it to grow, but not only through what I've known, like this clinical talk therapy part of it, but like implementing all these holistic health. What does that look like? Will my community be receptive to that? Because I know when it comes to, like I said, in the Black community in particular, like counseling and therapy is kind of foreign. Black
Mm-hmm.
men, like, we don't go to therapy. What? Just pray about it and it kind of go away. And so it was this thing of, getting my community involved in living a healthy lifestyle, but educating. So how do you pull people in? How do you show like, hey, this helps, this works? Education became a big part for me. Like, let me educate. But then it's like when you're not getting the feedback or you know that you're doing this for a purpose and a reason that's not receptive, to people, it's kind of like, am I doing it right? Am I failing? Do I need to add something? What's going on? And so it's definitely times that I've kind of faced that, and I had to kind of go back to the drawing board and reassess what's needed. Okay, instead of me thinking about what I would like to see happen, what's needed in the community? How can I meet the needs of the community? And that took some research and just identifying those things and kind of going from there. And when I was able to do that, just kind of figure out what's needed in the community, and things kind of started to open up from there. And I was more kind of motivated and ambition to move forward in my vision for what I saw, or what I see for the practice, such as this wellness center, all these things that you can, all these modalities of treatment that you have an option to pick from, that again promotes overall well-being and health.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever worry about like people wanting to invest, like paying the price to work with you?
Yes. That is still to this day, because I feel like everyone has the right to access to mental health, because it's people who can't afford. Um, they may not be able to afford therapy. So how do we make that available for people? And so I did go through that at a point in time, like, okay, what would be reasonable that can also to be helpful for people who really can't afford it? And so I explore like sliding scales where it's based on your income, or, helping people connect to services that will assist with getting services, but also too understanding my own, like my own worth when it comes to what I've acquired through my studies and my trainings and all the stuff I had to do to invest in myself to be able to help people navigate through it, and all the things that I have to do on a daily basis to maintain myself so that I can show up. So it was like a lot of things I had to take into account with making sure it's affordable for everyone else, but also too understanding that these are the things that I've put into and poured into it so that I'm able to help other people. So I keep kind of I keep that in mind, and helps me have healthy boundaries when it comes to that. Like, okay, I can do this. This is manageable, but then I have to also too have a boundary to say like, I can't do that. So
Exactly.
I have to be okay with it. I got to be okay with it. I had to learn that the hard way, because it was like all these yeses all the time. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm gonna burn myself completely out. Cause I'm gonna be burned out. So I had to really create a real boundary when it came to that, and understand, okay, I can have this option, but also too, I have to create a boundary to where I have to know that, hey, this is just what it's worth, and you have to. And therapy is an investment too, and so you're really investing in yourself when you decide I want to feel better. And that's just like anything that makes you feel better. Sometimes you have to pay for it. So
I think that's just one of the things that a lot of practitioners, especially in the holistic spaces, that we all, that's one of the things we struggle with, is wanting to like help people, but also like the pricing. It's like sometimes we feel bad that we have to charge people, but
yeah,
we invested in ourselves. So this is really an investment into your health.
it really is. And that is my outlook on when I'm an investment in myself. If it's helping me, healing me, or just if it's beneficial in any kind of way, then it's worth it. And that's how I kind of even live my life. I'm going to invest in things that's going to help me and help my life and help my health and well-being. And so that's just how you have to look at it in my eyes.
Yeah. No, I definitely resonate with that. It's definitely an investment. When I'm paying for something, I'm thinking about like, how is this going to affect me? Like, oh, this is going to be beneficial for my mental health, or this is going to be beneficial for my physical health, whatever it is. I'm paying for the experience, the benefit from that. And
Yes,
I don't even care what they charge.
absolutely. Agreed.
So Anisha, I wanna jump in here. You chatted about you're especially coming out of the yoga side of things, and as a fellow yoga teacher, I love what you said there, that you know, you didn't see people that look like you practicing yoga, and like for you, you wanted to change that because you reap so many benefits. I mean, yoga is for the human being, not for, you know, the skinny white woman in her Lululemon leggings. You know, like let's get rid of
Yeah,
that misconception, man.
you're right.
Um,
Yes.
but in reaching out to your community, and I know for a lot of practitioners, you know, we want to help the world, we want to make the world better, we want to make a difference, especially you coming from the mental health field. Your life experience has shaped a lot of that for you. But in picking your clients, not everyone is going to be a good fit. How do we recognize when, like, we want to help everyone, we want to fix everyone, we want to do all the work, but like we're not for everyone. There's tens of thousands of different practitioners on the planet. There's hundreds of
Yeah.
thousands of different clients on the planet. How do we know when someone isn't a good fit, and why is it actually okay that not everyone is a good fit for you as a practitioner?
That's a good question. Typically, when I take on clients, I have a brief consult. In the consult, I ask several questions. What needs you to therapy? What are your needs? What's your goals for therapy? In those consults, I am assessing, do I have the mental capacity to meet this client's needs? Do I have the certification, the knowledge, the wisdom to help them navigate through their treatment goals? And what that will look like for the counselor client's relationship. So at the very beginning, I assess that through a consult. If I decide to take the client on and we both agree to move into the counselor client relationship together throughout the throughout our time period together, I'm reassessing probably every 2 to 3 months. Okay, where are we at with our goals? Have we met our goals? Is this client doing the work, or are they expecting me to do the work? Like, where are we? Are we making progress? And then based on these assessments that I do periodically, I kind of determine, okay, is this relationship helping the client meet their goals? And if so, it's kind of like, okay, we see progress. Let's continue forward, continue to build on those goals. But if it's this place of where we're hitting this wall and it's like they're not making progress, I'm noticing some counter transference on my end from whatever through my own experiences because I'm still a human being, then it's time to revisit, is this a good relationship to consider? And then determining, okay, yes, or and if no, helping this client make a connection to another therapist that may be better equipped, have another specialty that the client may need, because sometimes it's a thing of specialties. Some clients may need certain specialties that I may not specialize in, that will help them kind of push through the wall they have or we have met or ran into, that I come to and talk to my clients like, hey, I noticed that we've hit a wall. Your goals thus far, reevaluate the goals. What do you think about either us continuing or maybe looking at another therapist that may be more helpful and beneficial for your progress in meeting your treatment goals? So it's kind of how I assess it ongoing, because I never want to get to a point where the counseling sessions are ineffective and the client is not getting what they need, and then I'm burning myself out trying to push them or help them and then I no longer have the mental capacity to show up for them like they need me to.
I love that point that you've made with the, you know, if you keep working with this client consistently when they're clearly not in alignment with you, like there's no proper work being done, there's no benefit happening, that you as a practitioner, you're not burning yourself out, you're kind of just spinning your wheels in place, not going anywhere. And I think that's especially the holistic practitioners, we need to hear that. You know, that stop spinning your wheels with the clients that aren't making progress. You know, if your client's not showing up to do the work, or you're just completely out of your realm of speciality. You know, we're not here for everybody. That it's
Absolutely.
okay to refer out. I think from a professional standpoint, a client would respect you a lot more if you said, hey, I've reached the threshold of my capacity to assist you. Like what we're looking for, what you need is way out of my realm of speciality. These are the people that I possibly recommend, or this is possibly the type of therapist to look for next. I love that you've hit on that point, because I think it's important for a lot of practitioners to hear that side of it, especially in avoiding things like burnout. Like we burn ourselves out all the time over all sorts of things, and working with incorrect clients, I think, is one of the big things. So let's chat a bit about the importance of readiness in clients and align timing with our clients. Because a lot of clients, for me as a coach, clients will come to me and they're like, okay, cool, I'm ready to do the work. And they'll get into 1 or 2 sessions and then they just drop off the face of the planet. I'm like, okay, well, you weren't ready to do the work.
Right.
What happened?
Right.
Like, where did we go wrong? So
Yeah.
let's chat a bit about your
Yeah.
experience with that.
Oh, well, I've had so much experience with that when, they show up as if they're ready to do it, and then at some period of time they decide like, I'm just gonna take a break. I always say that therapy is a thing of you want to do the work, you have these goals, and you're consistent and disciplined to carry out the plan to achieve your goals. And that's something, again, that has to be a conversation with the clients, and also to them taking accountability and their responsibility for their own well-being. Sometimes clients show up and want you to fix it, and I make it very clear that I'm not here to fix it. I always give them I paint this picture. I was like, think of me as an Uber driver, and I'm driving the car and you're in the back seat, but you're telling me where we're going, but I'm gonna make sure we get there safely. Because I care about me, and I care about you, and I want us to get there safely. So I always paint this picture like, what needs to be done. I am just here as an extra layer of support to help guide you to where you want to go. So that consists of you showing up every day and you having the discipline to show up. And even if you decide I don't want to show up anymore, then being accountable and being accountable to say, okay, I stopped showing up and this is where I am. Because that's okay. Sometimes we get to a place where I know I've seen clients get to a place where they're like, I'm healed, I'm better. And they drop out of counseling. In therapy, and I don't see them for 6 months. And it's like they come back like, oh, my life is falling apart. Like, therapy is one of those things, is that it's being consistent, sticking with it. Even if we get to a place where you may have needed counseling once a week, we feel like we've met these goals, and once a week goes to bi-weekly goes to monthly goes to every 2 months. But staying connected to your goals, what you want to do, and actually having another layer of support to kind of help you when you hit those walls, instead of thinking like, I'm just completely healed and I'm over it and I don't need to come back to therapy. So I see that happen a lot in therapy, but I meet it with compassion. And I always say, like, look, we have to be consistent. That's the only way this thing is going to work. If you want to feel better and you want to continue to feel better. And then we kind of look at, okay, how can I be more accountable and continue to show up where I don't feel like, okay, either I'm exhausted with therapy or I feel better and I don't need it anymore.
I love that. I love that perspective of keeping your clients accountable. Like the accountability doesn't sit with the practitioner or the healer. We did a public education panel recently about codependence from the client side, where clients form those things of codependence and they cling to the modalities and the clients. So I love that this topic is being raised in, because it's such an important topic for practitioners to like consistently come back to, like, hey, we need to hold our clients accountable. You can't fix your clients. They're the ones who need to do the work. You're just holding the container and taking them through the journey. I love your description of an Uber driver. Yeah, I'm going to be driving my clients around from now on.
Right. Yes, we're clinical Uber drivers.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we want to transition to like talking about the hustle culture. We live in a hustle culture, and as practitioners, we feel like we need to keep up with that culture. How did you get out of that hustle culture? I can't even talk right now. The hustle culture, and then if you are in it, how do you navigate that? Just dealing with that way of doing. Like, do you have the time where you're like, hustle, rest? Like, share with us a little bit about, how do you experience like the hustling, and how do you navigate that?
Right. I'm real big on balance. Balance is important to me. I've had times where, because outside of my outpatient practice, I have therapy aspect, and I feel like it's always a hustle and bustle with that aspect of it because it's community oriented, getting people engaged, marketing. It's just me, and I'm doing all these things. And I found myself at one point in time investing a lot of time, like trying to advertise, market, social media, getting extremely burned out with that. And so, what I learned over time is okay, what's the balance? First, let's make sure you're okay. What are your own self care practices that you're implementing in your daily routine that helps you take care of yourself so that you can show up in these spaces and be able to help others navigate through it? So that's the first thing. My own self care practices help me with balancing or staying balanced. And in doing that, a lot of the things that I do is slow down because I have to slow down. I like to take nature walks. I like to do yoga on my own and with my kids. I bring them out a lot of times when I'm doing yoga. When I got into sound bath or sound healing, I bought instruments and I started to play instruments, and I do that very often for just kind of my own experience with deep relaxation. So I do things that creates my own inner peace, deep relaxation for me, so that it's a gentle reminder to myself, like the hustle and bustle is okay, but slowing down is just as important, because if you're always hustling, bustling, trying to, promote and do these things, then it's not going to be effective. And then also too, knowing that the people who show up for what I offer, those are the people that are what I consider my people. Those are the
Mhm.
people that need what I'm offering. And it's not like you got to have everybody in the whole world. You got to save the world. It's like you build, you demonstrate, or you show up authentically, and the people who need what you offer will show up as well. And so I've started to believe, I now know that and believe that what I offer and the people who need what I offer will show up, and it won't be a need for me constantly doing this and this and this all the time. Think I have to burn myself out, always hustling, bustling to get these things done. Instead, focusing more on my own self care and just being authentic. And I think when you're authentic and you're showing up as your authentic self, then people that are meant to receive what you're offering, they'll come.
Yeah. Authenticity is actually what came up in our last podcast. We talked about being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
How can someone get out of that need to convince people to work with them, and that convince to convert versus being authentic and allowing themselves to have the people come to them? What can they do to just get out of that kind of culture of thinking?
I think it's just understanding that everybody is not for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just having that understanding that it's a thing of believing in yourself and your mission and your purpose. And when you're able to, when you believe in yourself, believe in your mission, believe in your purpose, you'll grow understanding that, okay, this is my mission. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I trust the process. I trust the journey. I had to trust the journey. And when I start trusting the journey, the people that are supposed to join me alongside, or I join alongside on the journey, they come. So it's just kind of realizing, like, understanding your purpose and what you're here to do. And it's not about how many people it is. It can be 1,000, it can be one. But that one person is going to reach someone else, and so forth and so on. So what we think is a little is really a lot, but it's really just understanding your purpose and your mission and being okay with whatever it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So let's stick with the topic of alignment, because for a lot of holistic practitioners, like, we understand alignment, we understand flow, and for most of us, that's how we want to do the work. We have a huge aversion to doing the social media and the hustle culture. Like, we're just like, it doesn't work for us. It burns us all out really quickly. So in sticking with the topic of alignment, because I think that that's one of the better ways to get your clients coming to you, is an alignment way, being your authentic self, saying, hey, this is me, it's what I'm all about. But have you got some, perhaps a story or an experience that you have personally that you can share with the watchers, uh, where you had a client where you've had to say no, or you're like, okay, no, this person just is not for me. I'm not meant to be working with this client. Like that alignment that you're talking about just wasn't there. Have you got a story that you could share with us on what that looked like?
So yes, I've had clients that I've worked with that I feel there was a sense of countertransference. I recall working with a female client, I think was in her 30s, I believe. She came to me, history of trauma, um, abandonment issues, relationship issues, and just a lot of different things. And as I was working with the client, I noticed that I saw a lot of the manipulation showed up in some of our sessions, and it wasn't that it was affecting me, but my frustration came when it was like, you're hurting yourself and you're wasting my time, and I never shared it in that way, but I did. It came to a point where I had to set these boundaries and to say, hey, this no longer feels good. We're not meeting your goals. And I never said that this no longer feels good, but internally for me, it no longer felt good. Whenever we had sessions, I would sometimes show up like internally frustrated because I'm like, what is this client going to do today? And like I said, the most frustrating part was that it wasn't me. It was more so like change is not going to happen if you're not honest with yourself. And so we're spending an hour of our time for you to go around in circles, and it's a waste of time. So eventually I got to the point where um, I had to end this relationship with this client because it was no longer benefiting her, but also too was bringing up some emotions for me that was triggering. And like I said, it turned into a counter transference where I was frustrated and trying to help her, but trying to help her in a space of frustration within myself, and it just did not align with my purpose and where I see or how I see me showing up for my clients.
Can you unpack the terms transference and counter transference for us? We all here, I think we've got a good handle on what those terms mean. But I think for a lot of practitioners, because they've done just their modality training, they haven't done anything over and above that, that they might not understand words like counter transference or transference, or what that would even look like in a session with some of their clients.
Okay, yeah. So counter transference is where there's something that comes up within yourself with your client. So it's something that's kind of that's triggering for you with your client. So they may trigger some trauma in you, and you start responding in like emotions. So this is like the counselor's emotional reaction to both conscious and unconscious things that's going on with the client. So it's like our emotional response. So when you start responding emotionally to clients, that kind of eliminates the true nature of the client and practitioner relationship, like client therapist relationship. And so that's one thing that I was taught as a practitioner, is that be aware of that type of relationship, because once you start responding in emotion with your clients, it can turn into a very sticky situation. And then transference will be the opposite direction. The client, their emotional response towards the counselor, and how that starts to interfere with the counselor client relationship. So it's almost like it's like a twist. It's the counselor emotional response toward the counselor, and then counter transference being the counselor's emotional response towards the client.
That's a perfect explanation. And in the understanding of those two terms now, there could be good red flags to look for as a practitioner, where if a practitioner feels like, oh, I'm getting a whole lot of emotional responses, this client's bringing up a lot of frustration, or I'm really angry after working with this client, or I'm like full of a lot of sadness, or it looks like this client
Yes.
is projecting a whole lot of stuff onto me. Is there a place for the practitioner to have the conversation with the client first, or do they just shut the door and be like, no, we're done, like we're not working together? How would a practitioner handle something like that?
For me, I would say it's a conversation. Just like I would have with a client, if I feel like this is no longer in alignment, it would be the same thing. Like I noticed this counter transference on my end, where there is some emotions that's coming up for me, some unusual emotions that are being triggered that I feel is affecting the client counselor relationship and interfering with you meeting your goals. So for me, as a professional, I feel like it's a conversation to have with your client. And then, of course, proceeding like, is this relationship appropriate? Or should we have a further discussion about referring out and aligning you with someone or connecting you with someone that's more in alignment with what you're working through?
So it's putting good, healthy boundaries in place. And let's chat a bit about boundaries in practitioner relationships. I know a lot of them, they struggle to know where the boundaries are. But can
Yeah.
you talk us through how do those boundaries help facilitate a relationship of trust between a practitioner and a client? Why are boundaries so important?
Just as any relationship, I feel like boundaries allows you to share with the other person what you expect. So with the client, therapist, or counselor relationship, it's what I expect from you as we work together. You know, I've had times where clients call me after my work hours. And for me, I've had to set a boundary is I do not respond to clients after a certain time until the next workday. Because if I get in the habit of responding anytime they reach out, they think that I'm accessible at any time they need me. And so there's times that I've had to say, like, okay, I don't accept calls after this time frame. I've had to, you know, in setting boundaries, sometimes you have to have uncomfortable conversations. You have to say no about certain things. No, that's not going to work, and things of that nature. And so it's just the thing of, in order to build a healthy relationship in any or build healthy relationships, whether it's client, counselor, or in your day-to-day life, it's just kind of showing people how you need them to show up and what you expect so that there's no misunderstanding and the lines are crossed anywhere where it could cause bigger conflict in the future.
So what with that, with setting those boundaries with your clients, what is some ways that you allow yourself to stay grounded in your work and your mission?
A lot of self-care, girl. My time is my time. I don't overwhelm myself with, well, first, I don't take work home with me when
Okay.
I love what I do. I love working with my clients. But one thing that I've learned to do is when I have this last client of the day, I allow myself to leave it where it's at. And I don't pick it up until the next time I need to pick it up. And that was a hard time for me too. I worked in a psychiatric hospital, acute unit with adolescents and adults, and sometimes that's hard because you are exposed to a lot of people's life traumas that you're just like, oh, it breaks your heart, like, oh. So I had to create a boundary from there. Like once I leave this office, wherever I'm at, I'll leave this here. And even if that means after work, I have to go take a walk to decompress. I have to go to a yoga class, have to doing some deep breath, deep breathing, meditation. Um, Checking in with myself has been really important. Like if I have a long day and something that's really triggering or overwhelming, do a check in. Like, how are you feeling, Anisha? body scan, like where we at, like starting from the crown of your head, how we feeling? All right, what do we need? What do you need? Do we need sleep? Do we need water? Do we need walk? Do we need friends? Do we need a girls' night? What do we need? So those check-ins have become again a part of my self-care routine, so that I know kind of be able to assess where I am and my mental capacity for whatever may be or needs to happen after I leave work. But for sure, whatever I leave, with my last session of the day, whatever it is, I leave it there and I don't pick it up until I need to.
How could someone develop that type of mentality where they can establish boundaries?
Constant self-work.
Because I think that's just one of the things that a lot of people struggle with, especially new practitioners, even seasoned practitioners, just the boundaries because you love your work so much.
Yeah.
But how do you get to that point where you do say, all right, enough is enough?
Routine. Routine helps me stay on task. So I know regardless of anything, I have this routine. So I know when I leave work, if after work, I know automatically once I hit the door, I'm giving myself about 30 minutes to decompress. Whatever that may include, whether it's deep breathing, going for a walk. And I have this specific routine that I stick to. So no matter what, even when I don't feel like it, I stick to it anyway, because it becomes like a natural response or a system I've developed that I automatically go to because I know that it works for me. So for me, it's like creating again, I'm going to say this self-care. I create a self-care routine that I stick to and I follow. So no matter what, this is a habit or a behavior that helps me maintain my mental focus, my mental clarity, and also too helps me stay grounded. So if anything, it's just creating a routine for myself that I stick to.
Okay. What is some ways that someone else could develop that? Like, I know you are phenomenal with your routine. Like, what could they do? Like, what is some advice that you could give them so they can just start implementing that? Like, it could be some simple steps that they can do to just implement it.
Identify some things. Identify up to, I always say a number of things, but maybe up to 5 things that increase like relaxation or that's a stress relief. And it can be whatever it looks like. It doesn't have to look like meditation or yoga. It can look like, my favorite TV show. It can look like my just something that reading something that enhances like calm, just relax, calm. It can be nature sounds, whatever the case may be. I would say identify 5 things that help you relax and do those things, and create a routine from these things that you identify, like, okay, these things help me or make me feel more settled. These make me feel more grounded. These make me feel more mentally clear and calm, and then implement them into a routine. And so it's like, even if you have to break it down to specifics, time frame. All right, I know I get home at 6:00. So from 6:15 to 6:30, I am going to just sit in silence. Or I'm going to get in the shower. I'm going to take me a however long shower, light a candle. And then whatever happened from this time, I want to do this. So make it structured to where it's a time frame. And then in this time frame, I'm fitting in these things that's calming and soothing that can kind of help me in creating that routine for myself.
Yeah. No, I like that. Just knowing 5 things that you can do, because sometimes you might not want to do that today. So just having a schedule, being consistent is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
It's definitely beneficial.
Absolutely. Yep.
So what would be one piece of advice that we could give to practitioners out there that, alignment is hugely important for a lot of us. So is, saving the world. A lot of us have this saviorism complex going on that we need to,
Yes.
we need to work through. But what would be
Yeah.
some piece of advice that you would give to someone who's really striving to build that soul aligned business, where alignment is important for them, attracting the right type of clients is important for them? What's that one piece of advice that you would give to them?
Trust your mission and your purpose. Do everything with intention, because your intention will bring in alignment of whatever it is that you're trying to attract. So even asking yourself, like, what's my why? What's my intention for what I'm doing? And how do I want to see it blossom? And even if it's something where you have to write it down, see it on paper, maybe something that you read over every day and that you say, like, okay, this is my intention, this is my reason, this is my why, and trusting in your intention, trusting in your mission, trusting in your purpose, and trusting in the journey, and knowing that it's going to take us in all different ways, but know that we're going to come out exactly where we're supposed to be.
I love
And
that.
if I can offer any advice, it would be that just trusting your journey and where you're going, and everything that is meant for you will align in that, and just trust it. And I know that's not always easy, because sometimes it looks so far off, or things don't go according to plan or the way we want it to go. But again, what I've learned is through consistency and patience, doing what we can do, controlling what we can control, and let go of what we can't, and not overwhelming yourself and stressing yourself with things that's out of your control, but being in control of the things that you can be in control of.
That's some super solid advice. I really love the part about being intentional. Like be intentional with your practice, and remembering your why. Because I think for a lot of the seasoned practitioners, I mean, I've done it. I'm 25 years in and being a practitioner in different modalities. And I've forgotten my why plenty of times, and I just kind of go into like an autopilot mode, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna work with everyone. You're a horrible client, but I'm gonna work with you because that's what I'm here for. So I think coming back to that why is really important, and being intentional with your work. This is what I'm here for. This is what I want. What's what I want to do for the world. How I want to be of service. But also that it's okay that I'm not going to be of service for everyone, but for the people that fit and that alignment is there. Trusting the process that alignment is going to match up, because we talk about this quite a bit in critical mass, where we are all one, we are all connected. So if we're in alignment and I'm supposed to be working with you, it's going to happen. That alignment is going to take place. So I love that last little bit of sound advice that you've left with everyone. Where can people connect with you and learn more about you and your work? Do you work just locally? Do you work online? Where all are you based?
So I am based out of Anderson. My private practice is Life Transitions Coaching and Wellness. I do have a website. It's www.lifeandtransitions.com. You can go on and read my bio and learn more about me and the services that I offer. I do offer in-person sessions as well as telehealth. So I'm available for both. And I have platforms on Facebook, which is Life Transitions, as well as Instagram, Life and Transitions. You can find me on those platforms as well. If you have any questions, all my information is on my website. You can even send me an email through my website. My contact information is there as well if anyone ever wants to reach out to me or interested in any of the services that I offer.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. And we catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye, everyone.